From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark. Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, the Noles look spectacular once again, but the true test lies later this week. Will the truth set us free, everybody? Tony White and UCLA, is it a thing? And the schedule is looking easier by the week. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Vitamin Energy is synergistically formulated to give you all the energy you need to make it through your day. 260 milligrams of caffeine. No sugar crash, vitamins and nutrients. Get involved with this stuff, everybody. You can buy one, you can get one free. There's a promo code, Corey, to take advantage of said offer. What is it?
It's warchantbogo, Aslan. Thank you so much for asking.
That's right, warchantbogo. Buy one, get one free over at vitaminenergy.com. Take advantage. I'm trying to find this comment, Corey, but somebody says that they love it so much that they bought 30 of them. I cannot confirm nor deny whether that is a falsehood or a true statement.
So does that mean they got 60?
I think
they bought 15 and got 30.
That's a good question. I would think.
I'm going to say if they bought 30, that means they got 60.
Yeah, which is about as much as Florida State hung up on the Kent State Golden Flashes this past weekend. You could have read all about it over at warchant.com. Columns afterwards. Warchant Rap presented by Vitamin Energy. Post-game show. All of this stuff going down over at warchant.com. Come be a member. Join it for $1 for a week. And also get access to a full-year membership to The Athletic. That is still going strong, everybody. So is Corey Clark after a weekend of entertaining everybody at a meet and greet at Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Friday, covering the game on Saturday, getting back to Doak Campbell Stadium on Sunday to talk to the coordinators. He's ready to talk about the Noles, moving to 3-0, but dropping in some polls. We'll talk about that later. How are you, Corey?
I'm wonderful, buddy. How are you doing? You doing all right? You having a good weekend? Did you have a good weekend, I guess?
Yeah. So the lady, my fiance, she's over in Italy right now. I am dog sitting for her. So I'm going to have her dog for 2 weeks. Just me and the dog. Okay. So the dog is still alive and well, and that's our goal, everybody. I make your savior killing dogs jokes, everybody. I didn't kill the dog in New Orleans. It was just time for the poor thing, all right?
Yeah.
Ease up off me.
What a memory that is.
It is. It is. Great.
Have you told your fiance that story?
We have not. We will not talk about it.
Okay.
Not a good idea.
Right, fair.
Don't think it's a good idea to bring it up. But let's bring up Florida State's victory. We spoke to Tony White on Sunday. I kind of want to go in chronological order, but I don't want to lead the show off after a big dub. We're talking about coaching rumors. So let's talk about the victory. 66-10 win over Kent State on Saturday. Record 498 rushing yards. I think also, what was it, like a record 7 rushing touchdowns?
Eight, I think.
8?
8.
It's incredible. My friend put in our group chat, and then somebody replied to it. Might as well just go ahead and hang a banner now. School record 498 rushing yards. I think maybe the total yards was a record too, Corey. 8 rushing touchdowns.
It was not. No, it was not a record. They scored. They had 850 against Maryland in 92.
Woo! Woo!
Yeah, it was the first game they went solely to the shotgun, like fast break, full time, Charlie, 4 wides, and 850 yards.
Smart. 37 first downs on 78 total plays. They averaged 9.9 yards per play, and they pretty much suffocated Kent State outside that initial touchdown. It's getting increasingly evident that this team is really good, Corey, even though it was a very lowly opponent. But so how are we balancing the fact that it's becoming more apparent they're really good, but also doing it against teams that don't have a lot of things, don't have a lot of equipment, if you will. They're not equipped to even battle remotely on Florida State's level.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the cool thing about that game on Saturday is that, it really almost doesn't matter. I guess I shouldn't say that. Like, if you're facing a Division III school or an NAI school or a high school team, who cares how many yards you rush for? And I know Kent State has been the worst D1 program in the country now for 3 years. This is their 3rd year of that. But, they are a D1 school, and you ran for 500 yards. And what I like about it is the mindset it's the mindset to do something like that. You could tell early on, man, like, even when they weren't hitting big runs, and Sawchuk hit a couple, but even when he was hitting 5 yards or 4 yards, the pile's just moving forward. And that's kind of what I believe this offense can be at its worst. And it's what I wrote about in the spring when we were allowed to watch that one scrimmage. And there was nothing fancy. There was nothing exciting. There were like maybe 2 big passing plays the whole day. It was pretty boring. But every run was 3.5 to 4 yards, and that didn't even count the Tommy factor because he was wearing a green jersey and wasn't running at all. The fact that, and they also wasn't the real offensive line. It's just a mindset of we push people out of the way that I think is really, really encouraging. But yes, we all understand what's awaiting. They might be Aslan playing their, I don't know, man. It could be their 2 toughest games of the season in a span of 8 days coming up here. We don't know what Virginia is, but we know they're better than Kent State, and they're better than East Texas A&M. For all we know, they're better than Bama. It certainly looks like their offense could be as good as Bama's. But the point being, you can only play who's on the field. And the fact that you go out there against a team that is clearly overmatched and just push them around and dominate them from start to finish physically is what's so encouraging. We know you have better skill people than them. You're going to put up points because they can't run with you. But they couldn't handle them physically either, especially I'm talking about the offense. That's really good to see. And it's a point of pride, man. I feel like that offensive line and Herb Hand and Gus, they're excited about 500 yards rushing. Like that's a cool feather in the cap. Now, it doesn't mean anything come Friday night, but it's good to know that's in this offense. And they do have kind of a, I don't know, man, the personality to go just kind of steal your will. Like, you're not good enough to play with us, and we're going to show you that from the first snap. We're not going to give you any hope at all. And I thought that's about all you could get out of that game, other than some individual plays here and there. But when you're trying individual efforts, but when you're talking about the culture of a team or an identity of a team, personality, and all that, when you're so much better than the opponent, I don't know what you're really gaining from trying to decipher. Is this really the best offense in the country? I don't know. Is it the best rushing attack in the country? I don't know that either. I do know they think they are, and they push people around, and they care to. And when they're out there, they play to a standard. And that's good to see. Now let's hope we see it on Friday night. We're not going to probably see 66 on Friday night, though.
Maybe 56, though.
Sure, that would be something.
56. What would you feel about 56-28?
If they beat Virginia by 28 points,
yeah,
I would feel like it's the best offense in the country. It may be the best offense Florida State's ever had. And I know we have 2013. I get it. It's going to be really hard to beat that thing. But holy cow, if you go on the road and put up 8 more touchdowns and you have 30 after 4 games, come on, man. You're on pace to score 90 touchdowns?
Yeah, all right. That was silly. That was silly.
So they're not going to do that. They need to get out of there with a win. But yeah, if they go out there and if they play Friday night and push them around a little bit too, because this is where it really matters, man. Can you run on the road? Can you move the ball on the road? Because that's the stuff that's supposed to be able to travel. Sometimes passing attacks can falter, but a running game is supposed to travel. And if you can go out there on a Friday night in what will probably be a pretty hostile environment because they believe they're a good team and they've proven to be pretty darn good through 4 games, that's a very good sign for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we'll dive into this, I guess, later in the week, but just I know there's a contingent of fans that are listening to this that are like, stop putting ceilings on this team, stop doubting them. There was somebody in one of the comments that literally said, this team's better than 2013. Thankfully, they were shot down by everybody in the replies. But there's this contingent, like I said, Corey, that thinks this team is trending to be 2013-esque. But Virginia game, we just think is going to be a little bit different. What is it that we think is going to be different? Is it so much? Is it more so the fact that Virginia has a competent offense, so they're probably going to be able to hold on to the ball more than 15 minutes or whatever all these other teams have been doing? Or is it a belief that maybe they're just a little bit more physical up front than the last 2 teams? Because I don't think anybody expects them to be more physical, more violent, more aggressive, larger in stature than Alabama was. And they put 31 points up week 1. Now they've got 2 more games under their belt to be comfortable operating.
Yeah, I think with me when it comes to this game is, there's going to be some game pressure. You have not felt game pressure since August 30th. This game will be played on what, Aslan? September 27th. You've gone a full month without feeling any type of real pressure because you knew as soon as you rolled into the stadium you were going to win by as many points as you wanted to the last 2 weeks. But it's also a road game, and there will be adversity where the crowd will be against you, and you just don't know how teams respond to that. I have no reason to think they won't do it well and they won't respond well, but we just haven't seen it yet. So it's hard to say for sure this team's going to play well on the road. This team's going to play well against a competent offense and be able to, handle a little bit of a run by the other team and bounce back and go win a game on the road in a hostile environment until we see it. Doesn't mean it can't happen. We just haven't seen it yet. All signs point to this thing being a really good offense and a really good football team. Yeah. All signs. But we're 3 weeks in, and we have to be honest with ourselves about the competition. It doesn't mean the ceiling is lower than anybody thinks. We have no idea what this ceiling is. We just know that the last 2 games in particular they're not a great barometer of where you are. That I've been pointing to this game for 3 weeks now, ever since the Alabama game. This to me is a really, really nice barometer. I mean, you're a 7-point favorite. You're not up there. You're not favored by 30. Virginia's competent, man. Virginia's probably a bowl team. The way Tony White talked about them, they have one of the best offenses in the country and one of the best quarterbacks in the country. This is a real challenge, and it's a perfect time for this team to be challenged. I think. I'm really fascinated and interested in this game. In all honesty, man, I know nobody wants to hear this. You just got to win one of the next 2. Honestly, like you beat Virginia and lose to Miami, yeah, that sucks. You still got everything in front of you. An 11-1 season with a win over Alabama, you're in the playoff. Vice versa, you lose to Virginia, you turn around the next week and beat the number 2 team in the country. Everything's right there in front of you. You've given yourself some wiggle room because the goalposts have changed, man. The goals have changed now from trying to just be an 8-win team to getting to the playoff. And in all honesty, losing at Virginia on the road isn't a horrible loss now, right?
No.
Like that Virginia would be ranked if they did that. They're 3-1. That would make them 4-1. And if you go the next week and beat the number 2 team in the country, it's all forgiven. You're in the top 12. You win out. You're in the dance. So that's why I look at this game as such a unique, fun challenge for this offense, for this whole team actually, to see what they can do on the road. There is a chance they beat them comfortably, beat them badly. I'm talking about Florida State beating Virginia. But I'm not expecting that because it's hard to win on the road. It's just hard to win on the road. Unless you're Syracuse, going to Death Valley. Then it's a flippin' cakewalk.
Gus Malzahn should take a screenshot of the NCAA statistic page and hold it up. And he should have done that on Sunday and held up in front of all of us. As we sit here and hang out and talk, Florida State does have the number 1 total offense in the country, averaging 628 yards per game. They have the number 1 scoring offense, averaging 58 points per game.
Unbelievable.
Number 2 rushing offense in the country, though, 363 yards. Get better.
Behind who?
The Naval Academy.
That shouldn't even count. But, I mean, it is unbelievable.
Come on.
I mean, they don't ever throw the ball. That's not a real offense. They just run and run and run. But, like, again, I know it has to be couched with the opponents. But what they've done through 3 weeks is – because it's not like they only scored 7 against Alabama. They ran for over 200 against Alabama and left some yardage and some points out there, quite honestly.
Let's be honest. Think about think about last year, 12-team playoff. How many of those teams do what Florida State has just done the last 2 weeks? Like I don't know if Arizona State or Indiana or Notre Dame or even Tennessee would have done what Florida State's done offensively to like teams like East Texas A&M and Kent State.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I know that Florida State hasn't punted since the Alabama game. Yeah. And I know that they played, in my opinion, just about flawlessly offensively. I know not in Gus's opinion, but, we think they're going to be healthy for that game, for the Virginia game. Everybody on the offense should have confidence. You've had different players prove that they are big-time, game-changing type players all over the offense. And then the defense, other than one play, I didn't think the defense looked nearly as physical or ferocious, played with the ferocity necessarily that they had the first 2 weeks. But at the end of the day, like Tony White was saying on Sunday, it's like you look up and you've given up 9 first downs. They're like 3 of 14 on third down. You've given up 180 yards, and 75 of them came on one play. Like, they played well. But the standard is such that it didn't feel like they played great. What a turnaround, man. Just what a turnaround from what we all witnessed and experienced last year to now it doesn't even feel like the defense played all that well or did anything special, and they held a team to one touchdown that was essentially a trick play. I mean, I think this roster is good enough to get to the playoff. Clearly, I do think that. I also really, really like this coaching staff. I just think this coaching staff is legitimately very, very good. And even I just think they might not win on Friday night, but I don't think it'll be because they're just confused and not prepared. Sometimes the football's football, and the ball bounces a weird way, and other teams make plays and have scholarship players too. They have their NIL money too, Aslan.
They do.
But man, I just this collection of players with this coaching staff has been incredibly fun to watch, and it's like now it's weird how it's shifted where it's like you're nervous again. Like the goals have shifted so much from where we were a month ago to just like, hey, get to a bowl, be fun to watch, have some fun Saturdays, to now you go into this game like legitimately nervous about what it would mean for the rest of your season. And while I get it, it's nerve-wracking, it can be white-knuckling, it's still a fun place to be. It's a fun place to have a game on a Friday night when the whole country's going to be watching, and there's real pressure and real stakes again. That's fun times. It's fun times, and I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy the nerves because last year there were no nerves, and it's fun to enjoy the nerves again.
Yeah, man, the stress is a privilege. That stuff's a privilege.
Yeah, exactly right, buddy.
It's always good times over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Hey, when you get off work, just head right to the Corner Pocket. There's going to be their weekday, happy hour going from 4 to 7 p.m., which will get you right to kickoff when the Noles take on Virginia in Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia. Come hang out at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill for that one and any other day. Tuesday, there's trivia, as on Figure It All Out. Thursday, there's bingo, and there's daily lunch specials. And that happy hour I talked about from 4 to 7, that's weekdays. And then Sunday, it's all day while you're watching your NFL. Who loves you? No one more than the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and our guy Bill. 2475 Appalachia Parkway, cptallybar.com, the website. How were the vibes at Corner Pocket Saturday night, Corey?
Oh, they were good, buddy. They were good. I'm glad you asked because I wanted to give a shout-out to a couple people I met. I met Justin McIntyre, who I'm supposed to call J-Mac,
all right,
who actually came in. He was there before I got there and went up to one of the managers, Scott, the manager, and is like, is Corey Clark here? And he's like, well, Corey's not, but his wife's right there. And so he came up and talked to Stephanie, and Stephanie told him to hang around because I was on my way, and I got to meet him. He's from Savannah. I met a Matthew who's from Tallahassee who had some very nice things to say about me to my wife when I went to the restroom. He said he was too shy to tell them to me, but he was very, very complimentary of me and you and the show, and that meant a lot. Bert and Bill, met them a couple weeks ago, guys from Warner Robins, Ware County, near Ware County anyway. Good dudes, hung out with them a little bit on Friday night. And then also Tyler from Cartersville. They were down for a game. His wife, who I cannot remember her name, but she pitched at Kent State. She was a softball player at Kent State. So I thought that was an interesting tie. I assume she was a Florida State fan. There's no way she's a Kent State football fan. Who could do that to themselves? But she did pitch there, and he was a Florida State fan, and they got to come down to a game. So, and obviously, I met a lot more people than that. Please, when we're there for the Friday Miami game on Friday, and anytime you see me, just say hello. You're not bothering me. I promise, you're not bothering. And if you are bothering me, Stephanie will tell you.
CPTallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. We are back as Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code, buy one, get one free. Let's go back to offense, Corey. You did tee it up for defense, but let's go back to offense real quick. I guess the two other storylines, if you want to call it that, other than Florida State's absolute domination at Kent State offensively, was Tommy getting rolled up on and kind of gingerly hopping off of the field towards the end of the first half. Also, shout out to operations for using that weather delay as halftime. That was ingenious.
That was great. Great move.
Yeah. And then this Micahi Danzy guy, man, I don't you did a really good job of talking about the way and framing the way that Jerry Wilson spoke about Micahi after the game in his post-game press conference. Could maybe be one of the best receivers that's ever touched the grass or something like that.
Yeah.
And I guess let's start maybe Micahi, then we can pivot to Tommy, because I think Tommy's okay. I don't want to call it like a nothing burger, but I understand like some of my friends in the group chat they're like, hey man, I got Jordan Travis PTSD. Is he going to be okay? I'm like, he's fine, man. He ran out on the field, and Matt knows guys that were on the sideline that said that he was doing fine. He told us he was fine. Tommy, after the game, he was on an Instagram live after the game telling everybody that he's fine. So I think he's going to be fine. I don't think defenses are going to be fine planning for Micahi Danzy. This is getting absurd. I think he's averaging something like 33 yards per touch. And listen, he's devouring these other programs, but we remember what he did to Alabama and how they couldn't catch up to him and they couldn't get their hands on him because they just pinballed off of him. He's like I think he's got to be like the single biggest surprise. I mean, the Desir twins are kind of on another level, but just I did not think they had a weapon like this that was just completely putting everybody on its heels and is just an absolute dynamo to watch.
He's been a revelation. I don't know how else to say it because I honestly didn't know he would be a football player this fall. Yeah. When you're as good as he is at track, where he's legitimately Olympic level, like he could be an Olympian. He's already set the ACC record for the 400-meter dash, and he's a freshman. He did it his true freshman season. He's only going to get bigger, stronger, and faster, theoretically. So he's already running a 44 in the 400, which, if you don't know, is faster than me. What do you think you could run the 400 in, Aslan? What, that's just one time around the track?
What did he
run? Probably be 40. I'd probably be a 45, too.
He runs at 45?
He runs 44 flat.
Minute 15?
I'd probably be. I think
30.
I could get it. I think you think you'd be a minute 30. You'd be more than that. You'd be like
I can't run a mile, dude. I mean, 4 of those is a mile. I cannot do a sub 7 minute mile.
You're not doing 4 of them.
I
You're
know,
just doing
but
1.
I can't even. I don't think I can keep a.
I'm going to go do that. We're going to go do that tonight. I'm going to go to the Leon track, babe. Don't shake your head. That's exactly what we're doing. We're going to the Leon track and we're going to run a 400. And you're going to time me.
Okay.
I guess I could time myself on my phone.
I'll do it.
But either way. So I wasn't, because of how little he was used last year, in hindsight, inexplicably.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
But how little he was used on the football field last year, and how good he was at track, like legitimately had the national best time as a freshman, which is not normal, especially in an event like that. I don't think he could be an Olympian if he trains and wants to do it. He also could be an NFL wide receiver, apparently. Again, it was one game. We know he's something on the end arounds. He's an absolute weapon on the end arounds. He's proven that every game so far. But the catch he made, the contested catch, as Gus Malzahn called it on Sunday, a wow catch, that's something different, man. Yeah. That's something I didn't know that was in the bag. And then the next one, just kind of running underneath a 65-yard throw, perfect throw from Tommy, by the way. If he's that guy as a wide receiver, like if he can add that element where he's a legitimate deep threat in the passing game and not just on a end around, man, yeah, who knows what this guy is? He's already proven he can be a game changer. He could be like is he a season changer? Is he an offense changer, a program changer? Like, who knows what his ceiling is? I don't know he's going to be the greatest receiver that's ever played football, but man, what a start to his career. What a start to his career, because last year doesn't count. He was in the game. What do you have? Played 9 plays last year somehow. So I think that has been an absolute revelation. It's almost made Jalen Lucas seem like an afterthought.
And that kid's a problem too.
No duh. And Squirrel White hasn't even played. And Squirrel White's a real dude too. So you think about a quartet now of wide receivers, and Lewayne McCoy got on the field. That was good to see. He had a couple of nice plays too. Maybe we'll call it a quintet of wide receivers when you're talking about Deuce, Squirrel, Micahi, Boggs, and then Lewayne McCoy. I think that's a pretty solid receiving core.
Yep.
Especially Danzy being this wild card that has turned into like just a game wrecker. That's been an unbelievable – I just didn't think it was going to happen. I legitimately didn't think he'd keep playing football because he was so good at track and how little he was used last year. Now he might be like the ACC Freshman of the Year. Probably go to the Miami wide receiver, but if Danzy keeps averaging 33 yards a touch and scoring a touchdown a game, who knows? But he's got to be the fastest player in the country, and he's combining that with like real receiver skills apparently. That was just I can't even imagine what that's going to do for his confidence to make plays like that down the field, something he has not done. He's always been able to run around people with the ball in his hands and bounce off people and run past them. He's never made a catch like that in his life, I wouldn't think. And then he went and made 2 of them in front of people in a game that counted. I just feel like that's going to even expedite his growth more than it was already going. Like I think he'll develop even quicker now because of that confidence and the proof that he's proven to himself and his teammates that he can go make plays like that. So he's been just a wonder. You hope it keeps going, but I don't know why it wouldn't, because I trust that this offensive coordinator will get him a chance to go make plays. And then, yeah, you do throw in Lucas. You throw in Cromall. You throw in Sawchuk, who just scores 2 touchdowns a game. Pittman is a very good tight end that hasn't even been seen the last 2 weeks. They got some weapons, man. They just have some weapons. It's not going to all click every game, but it's nice to know that you got a 6'6" guy that can go dominate 1 week, and then you've got a 400 superstar sprinter that can go dominate the next week. And you've got a quarterback that is very, very hard to tackle.
I don't live in fear of
when he's healthy. Which we think he is.
Yeah. I don't mean to say this braggadociously. It probably comes off as being more ignorant and naive, but like I'm not scared of too many things in this world. Like, these dangers lurking around every corner, and you never know. But you got a child, so maybe if I ever get one of those, that'll put it into me, right? Just like every possible thing is a trap for your kid to get hurt or something like that. But Tommy and the quarterback, I don't know, maybe I know everyone got a little bit of a knot in their stomach because it kind of reminds you of the mortality of a football team, right? Because when you lose your starting quarterback, everything changes. But it was a freak kind of play, right? Like he got rolled up on, and it wasn't severely rolled up on, obviously, but he seems to have a good feel, obviously, in the pocket, getting out of the way of danger. But I guess still there is that possibility, but it's nothing unique to Florida State. That's why I guess I don't really overly concern myself with the health of Tommy. But just to see him kind of limp off, and then to your point in the wrap, just to see him run back onto the field, I think is what makes me be really much at ease right now, thinking about him and his availability, not just for this week, but down the road.
Yeah, I'm really glad he did that. He didn't have to do that at all. He could have walked back. He could have come back in street clothes. Yeah. He could have stayed in the locker room the whole time. As I said on the Warchant wrap, I think he did that for Florida State fans. I don't know if Norvell asked him to do it. I doubt it. But I love that it occurred to him that I know I'm not playing the rest of this game. And look, he's not 100%, or he would have come back in and played. Like he wasn't limping, but he wasn't 100%. He wasn't. He little bit of a limp in the gait. When I just saw him walking a little bit, he was being a little ginger, so he wasn't just 100% absolute same guy he was, at noon on Saturday. But the fact that it meant enough to him to come out in full uniform and sprint out of the tunnel for the crowd to see him, maybe it didn't occur to him that what happened to this crowd and this fan base, and what happened to this program almost 2 years ago when another unique, dynamic quarterback got injured and you kind of derailed everything. It was just a horrific night in Doak. For him to come out and do that and give the fans that were left that moment and that kind of breath of fresh air, like that breath of relief, I thought that was a cool thing that he did. I should have asked him about it. I didn't even ask him about it after the game, but I feel like he did that as much for the fans and the team as anything else.
Yeah,
because he knew he wasn't going to play. What was his rush to get to the sideline for?
Right.
He wanted to show everyone, hey, guys, I'm straight. I'm okay. And that's what he said afterwards. Even if he's not 100%, he'll be good enough to play. They got meds. He'll be able to run around and be Tommy, you think. Norvell said they'd be monitoring it or to be manageable, but that he should be able to go Friday. I think he'll be able to go Friday as well. But, yeah, I just think it was such a big deal for the fan base to see him run out. Because if he stays in the tunnel or stays in the locker room the whole time, and then we're having to ask Norvell about his availability, and Norvell has to, this is the first week he has to give an injury report. He has to be honest about it too, like his availability, questionable, out, or probable. I guess those are the things. Those are the three distinctions you can have. Yeah. So he's got to be honest about that. And because man, you're right. When he hobbles off the field like he did, especially when you're up 35-7, it was a completed pass. It wasn't like he got hurt on a 12-yard run. It was a completed pass. It was a nice play by Lewayne, and all of a sudden you see him hobbling straight to the little tent area to sit down, the bench to sit down. Yeah, man, you feel like the season is on the brink. It's on the cusp. Like, I like Kevin Sperry. I think he might have a chance to be a really good quarterback. I thought he's looked good each time he's come out there. He certainly looks the part of a guy that could be something. He's not Tommy Castellanos right now. Not even close. You've got a unique unicorn at quarterback. And if he's not playing, the season gets a lot harder. Much like if Carson Beck went down. Or if DJ Lagway, well, never mind on that part. But if Carson Beck went
John
down.
Mateer goes down. Yeah.
Yeah, man, the season is in jeopardy. With Aslan's right. Like, it's not like Florida State's unique in that they wouldn't be able to survive a quarterback injury. Who could? You know, it would be anybody in the top 10. It would be a devastating blow to lose their starting quarterback. The fact that he seems to have come out of that mostly unscathed and available for Friday is just really, really important. And I'm glad that he gave the fans that kind of the sigh of relief when he ran onto the field like that. Because he wasn't just jogging.
No,
like it was a half sprint, half jog. Like he was moving with a purpose.
Yeah, that's the way you run out of the tunnel, like at the national title game when they announce you, from Waycross, Georgia, quarterback, Tommy.
That's right.
Run out there with like that kind of that verve, if you will. But you mentioned in the first half of the show, Corey, just this offensive line being able to push people around and they're running the ball really well. And I'm sure there's a certain degree of it, especially against Alabama, that it is because you have to account for Tommy. But like Tommy seems to be throwing the ball well enough that even if he's not 100%, as long as he's not, I can't think of a quarterback that just went into a game absolutely like on a complete one-legged, like Byron Leftwich or something.
Leftwich? Yeah, back in the day, yeah.
As long as he's not like in that dire of straits, I think he is operating this offense well enough. They have enough perimeter run game with the end arounds and the reverses they can pull off. And he's throwing the ball really well, too. I mean, that interception notwithstanding, which was just, a low ball, and that freaking linebacker made a crazy play to pick it off. That, you kind of think about just how good this offense can continue to be. And Tommy doesn't maybe need to run around and be crazy Tommy for them to hit every goal and be totally optimal. But it would obviously be nice, clearly. It would be nice. It would be very nice because I just think that's an element to the running game that nobody's been able to figure out. And it's not just, again, it's not the yards he gets. It's the yards his presence gets for the other guys because you have to pay attention to that guy. You have to. And he doesn't just – in a game like this where you're going to have to score some points to win, he can't just be a decoy. That's not really his – yeah, he can throw it. He's been throwing it well. But I still think the strength of this team and the strength of his game is the running ability. I think the running game is the strength of this offense, and I think he is a huge part of that. His presence on the field is a big, big part of that. It does help to have guys like Danzy and Lucas that you can hand the ball to that are, faster than him. They might be the only 2 or 3 guys on the team that are faster than him, but they are. So that is a unique – they have some weapons that they can throw at you, even if the quarterback's not 100%. But when he's 100%, so far, this is – like you saw those plays he had on Saturday when he was playing. Like those runs, what are you going to do? You blink and he's 10 yards downfield. He had a run on the first – it might have been the first drive, maybe first or second drive. And I'm like, wait, that wasn't an 8-yard run, was it? I thought he got 2. And then they're saying it was 2nd and 2, and I'm like, that wasn't 8 yards. And it was like it's so quick and it's so easy for him that you can't. Those yards are for most other offenses are it's hard to get 8 yards. It's hard to get a bunch of first downs. With him, he makes one guy miss, and he's darting up the middle of the field, and it's a first down. And he's moving the chains, and it could be a lot more than that. So you hope he needs to be able to move. He needs to be able to move to be as effective as he can. I don't know that I'm at a place where I think he's done enough in the pocket as a passer to think that he could just be kind of and he's not one-legged, but he could be at like 60%, 40%, 55% as a runner, and it not really hurt the offense. When he is 100% as a runner, this is something that it's really hard to defend. It's really, really, really hard to defend. And I hope he's okay. It sure seemed like he was okay. But, I was just looking at the Virginia game against Stanford, and I know they were down a lot, so they had to throw. But Stanford only had 35 yards rushing. I don't know how many sacks there were and how much of that was sacks. But I think NC State ran a lot on Virginia, didn't they?
Like, I don't know if Virginia has a great defense.
They don't.
I do know they have a pretty good offense.
Their rushing
really
defense is actually, the rushing defense is 31st in the country. They're allowing 100 yards per game. But again, they played Coastal, who has been down ever since they lost Jamie Chadwell. They played NC State, William and Mary, and then Stanford.
Well, so Stanford's quarterback was sacked 6 times for minus 45 yards.
That'll do it.
So if you take that away, they had 24 rushes for 80 yards.
All right,
so
4 yards.
You got to imagine that Florida State's going to run the ball better than Stanford. But they didn't run the ball a lot, and the kid got sacked. I mean, got sacked 6 times. It's like the Auburn kid getting sacked 10 times against Oklahoma. I don't know that I'm there yet. I'm just saying I'm not there yet with Castellanos as he can just beat you like Jordan Travis could beat you with his arm and his mind. He might be there. He certainly has looked like he could.
Close,
I'm just saying, again, it's hard to put a ton of stock into these last 2 games. Now, he might be able to convince me on Friday. I just think on the road, in competitive games, and then obviously the next week in a rivalry game, his legs are they could be the difference. They're the wild card. They're the things that can kind of maybe put the game out of reach. Those are the things you can't prepare for, blah, blah, blah. I hope he needs to be 100% or close to it and be able to run the ball for this offense to work at peak efficiency.
Yeah, those the plays that break your spirit, like the crowd as well. Those like the 3rd and 7, and he just scrambles and runs for 11 yards and kind of isolate that. Those are the plays that I still think he can make, even if he's a little bit hobbled. I think though I don't think we need 7 for 72 every game out of him. But that's kind of what I was trying to convey. But it certainly would help. It certainly would help. I thought we were out of the woods, Corey, and that summer was in our rear view, but it's still here. It's still hot out. But Poncho Outdoors, they've got our back. Poncho makes the ultimate outdoor performance shirt for men. Some call them fishing shirts. These are like outdoor performance shirts. Performance fabrics, amazing fit, and so many features if you really are like a true outdoorsman. I'm not out there baiting my own hook and things like that, but they've got all the hooks, all the pockets you need in their gear, but they also got different styles. They got hoodies. They've got Western-style shirts, things that are stylish and fit you well. Corey, you've received some of the swag back from our friends over at Poncho. How big of a fan has Steph been of you wearing all this sharp threads?
Well, she was really fired up when I told her I was going to be getting my outdoor gear because I'm out there in the woods more than anyone. But the beauty about Poncho, and sincerely, I don't wear a bunch of flannel. I'm not a guy that's in a deer stand. That's not my life. I'm not judging. That's just not my life. It's not what I do. I'm not a fisherman. But they got stuff that I can wear to corner pocket or on a date.
Yep.
Well, you could take a date to corner pocket, but I got a performance hoodie that's awesome that I love. I just love the way it feels. It's lightweight but warm, if that makes sense. It's hard to describe, but it keeps you warm, but it's lightweight. And then I got a black crayon is the color.
Ooh, nice.
Of a crew neck shirt, a crew shirt that I got. I don't know if it's crew neck, but a crew neck shirt I got. And then I got another blue shirt that's like a crew neck. And Stephanie seems to be a big fan, but it doesn't matter. All the women that see me in it, all the dudes that see me in it, are jealous. The women aren't jealous. They're like, that looks great. I don't know if it's his body or just the shirt itself, the material itself, but it looks great. And then the dudes are all jealous. It really is. It's obviously, I don't do a lot of outdoorsy performance wear, but this stuff feels and looks really good on me, at least.
Yeah, listen, I was a believer in this stuff, like in the middle of the heat of the summer, like wearing a fishing shirt, but they just don't fit right. Poncho's got it all figured out. They put a ton of thoughtful details into these shirts. Everything is backed by their promise, the Poncho promise. Free shipping and free returns, free exchanges, and they stand by every shirt. They'll make it right if it's not your favorite. So head on over to ponchooutdoors.com/wakeup to save $10 off your first order. If you've been looking for the perfect shirt, something breathable, like Corey says, that fits great, like I've been saying, that feels even better and stands out in a good way, give Poncho a try. PONCHO outdoors.com/wakeup to save $10 off and get free shipping. It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. Warchant BOGO, your promo code. Go use that. Standard is the new buzzword, Corey. I feel like standard has replaced culture. And everyone keeps talking about not playing to a standard. Let's, I guess, pivot a little bit to the defense then now. Listen, Kent State, the game was never in doubt. Although I don't know, they fired right back with a touchdown pretty quickly. But the defense maybe not playing with the level of speed and aggressiveness that we saw against East Texas A&M, and then the effort they played against with Alabama. We know that's there. And even more encouraging, I guess, is the fact that that coordinator isn't happy and content ever, seemingly, and those players already know about it. So they hear like Jerry and James Williams after a game of that nature and what they did, just talk about that they're not happy enough. They're getting into this faceless opponent kind of part of their growth cycle, it feels like, where maybe Virginia will be more about them and less about us, but they seem to be so focused on getting better individually, learning their assignments, playing up to the standard that Tony White has been able to set so early, that I know there's some people that are worried about maybe some questions that are left on defense to answer, and we'll get those Friday night in Charlottesville, but it sounds like with the way Tony White spoke on Sunday, man, they're going to be dialed in, and they know what's ahead of them, and they are eager to live up to the standard and raise their standard.
Yeah, he said that he talked to them at halftime, which was really not it was 2:29 or something left in the second quarter when the lightning delay served as the halftime, and he basically told them, like, that's not the standard. That's not the standard we play up to. And then he said he was very encouraged that he heard Jerry and James Williams talk. I think it was James Williams. It was both of them, honestly, talking about that after the game when they were being interviewed about how it was not going to be a good film session. It was not going to be a fun film session for them. And this is a team that won by 56 points. And he only gave up 10. It's not like they won 100-44. Like, they only gave up 10 points. They gave up one play, essentially. And talking about how it wasn't going to be a good film session for them. So, yeah, you love that, because it would have worried me a little bit if they'd have come out and kind of patted their back and been like, yeah, we kind of dominated them. They didn't have a chance. It's like, well, you didn't have a ton of tackles for loss. I know they don't hold on to the ball, so it's hard to get sacks. You didn't you didn't send a lot of dudes backwards. You didn't force a fumble. You had one interception. It's another great play by Jerry Wilson. But there wasn't a lot of things to love about the way they played. There was a lot of things that you were content with because they forced a bunch of punts and gave up 10 points. But I like the fact that they did talk like that. And I don't think it was for our benefit. I think they genuinely were not happy with the way they played, which is good because they played fine. They played well. By every measure or metric, except maybe their own, they played well. So that's a good thing that they've set the barometer, or the bar, I guess I should say, that high, where a 56-point win and giving up 10 points is considered not great. The defensive coordinator is a guy that you kind of want to be here for a while. I guess we'll talk about that here in a second, but you trust that he will have these guys ready to play. He talked about, Virginia. They're not going to be taking Virginia's offense lightly in any way, shape, or form. I just don't think that's how this team is wired overall. I definitely don't think that's how that defensive coaching staff is wired. And how could they take them lightly? They're fourth in the nation in scoring offense. Like, this legitimately might be the best offense they face all season, right? Like, Miami didn't look great.
No.
Their offenses look good against USF, and that's it. Clemson's offense looks like a train wreck. Yeah. Florida is like 2024 Florida State caliber right now, it would appear. So, literally, they score one touchdown a game. So I think that this might be their biggest challenge of the season, going up on a short week to Charlottesville on a Friday night and trying to stop that offense. So, yeah, it gives you confidence, I think, that guy's leading the way on that side of the ball. He's just always, again, very, very, very impressive. And even though his defense didn't play up to his standard, I also like the fact that he admitted, like, there's a fine line between holding guys to a possibly high standard and also, like, enjoying the win and the output. Like, that's what he was talking about. He's like, he was saying he was talking to Papuchis during the game. He's like, man, I don't feel great about how we played. But, I mean, golly, they got 10 points. Maybe at this time it was 7 points. They got 180 yards. They got 9 first downs. I can't be that mad at these guys, right? Like, they played well. They didn't take them lightly. They just didn't quite play up to the level I think we saw in that, obviously in the Alabama game, and then when they played against East Texas A&M in the first quarter and a half. But some of that could have been rest. It was a long layoff. You think about Earl Little. Like, he hadn't really played a competitive football quarter in 2 weeks. So there could be a little rust that comes into that, but yeah, man, I trust that they'll be ready to go on Friday night. Whether they get beat or don't play well, we'll see. But I absolutely think they'll be flying around, and they'll look like the team that played against Alabama on defense, just in the physicality, in the urgency in which they play.
How long is Tony White going to be here, Corey Clark? The question asked him just basically, how do you react when you hear your name attached to jobs, and do you tell the players? I don't know if he answered really the second part of it. The first part of his answer was a little shaky. It seemed like kind of talking about like he learned his lesson. It sounded like from the last time he was involved, maybe in a coaching hire. I don't know if that was maybe something that affected the way that he coached or just him personally, like being more prepared this time around. But I'm glad he did bring up the fact that, he saw something about he was involved in a Zoom call, because he didn't make it brush it off as though like there was a complete nothing burger. And it's like, well, man, if you're on a Zoom call, man, that's a little bit of something. So he did mention that he was on it very briefly. He didn't realize kind of what he was getting into, which I don't know how much I buy that one or whatever, but basically he was on it, quickly got off of it. But the biggest thing was his, like, there's nothing there, so there's nothing there. Or something along the lines of that. I should pull it up because you probably have transcribed it much better than I just kind of.
I wrote a story.
Yeah.
I wrote a story, Aslan, that's on our website. He said until there's something there, there's nothing there.
Right.
And he basically said there is no offer, there is no interest right now, and that, yes, there was a report that he was on a Zoom call with UCLA administrators and alums, and he did not deny that, but what he said was, it didn't sound like he knew what like Aslan just alluded to. He didn't know what he was actually answering, because he was out to dinner with his family. And then when he saw like there were 200 people on the Zoom call, I think that's what he said, 200 people. Yeah. And
200 Bruins.
Which is what a crazy. What are they doing? Who are those people? What in the world is that?
Stakeholders, Corey.
I mean, good grief, man! Talk about too many chefs in the kitchen. Yeah. And they never get their hires right. Maybe this is why. That he saw what it was, that it was more than just a quick phone call. He's like, guys, I'm getting ready for Kent State. I got to go. And he's like, and I basically said, see ya, and that was it. And he's like, it didn't last more than 30 seconds. I don't think he would lie about that. You know what I mean? Maybe he lies about what he thought it was, or just doesn't tell the complete truth about what he thought it was or interest or anything like that. But I don't think it lasted longer than 30 seconds or a minute. You know what I mean? Like, that's a weird thing to lie about.
But Martin Jarman, the athletic director, said that Tony was on the call and you could tell in his voice that he wants the job. Those are the words in the Athletics reporting. The
athletic director said that?
The athletic director said that, yeah. That was the quote that was given to the Athletic. Like, he didn't say it. He didn't explicitly say he wanted the job, but you could tell in his voice that he did.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, man, maybe.
Listen, when he says there's nothing there, it's like, yeah, because there probably wasn't an offer made to him. But I'm sure in back channels, his interest got checked, and what's the temperature on this guy? And the way that he answered, I thought he answered it great. I'm not criticizing what he answered at all, but to me, it's obviously, listen, man, he has ambition to be a head coach. It sounds like he wants to be a head coach, but it doesn't sound like he's in a rush and is going to do something hastily and rash. But also it seems like he's focused on his current job, so I trust that he would be able to balance both if it came down to that, Corey.
I do too. But man, that's a tough one. Like, what if we're in November and Florida State's 10-1, getting ready to play Florida, with a playoff spot essentially on the line if they can win it, and UCLA's like, man, we got to know. Let's go. And like, he's one coast to another, putting together a staff. Like, Florida State fans lived through this a quarter century ago with their OC before a national championship game got hired at Georgia and wasn't really into it and kind of cost them a national championship. Like, it's hard to do both. And so it could get dicey as we get later into the season. But right now, yeah, I think he is full bore thinking about Florida State, because let's be honest, man, if this defense ends up not being any good over the next month, you could probably kiss the UCLA job goodbye. Like, the beauty for Florida State fans should be like, well, man, if Tony White actually ends up leaving to be a head coach, that has to be that because the defense was really good. They're not going to go I wouldn't think, I shouldn't say that, it's UCLA. I wouldn't think they'd hire a guy that has the 59th best defense in the country, even if he's an alum, to be there. It has no head coaching experience to be their head coach. That would be a really hard sell to me. Now, a guy that has the number 8 defense in the country, that's a different story. But to get even to be one of the on the short list for a place like UCLA, you got to perform. And so that should instill some belief with Florida State fans that, like, yeah, man, this guy can't get distracted. If he gets distracted about wanting the UCLA job, he ain't going to have any jobs. So, obviously he's not going to get fired after a year here, but if this defense, for whatever reason, we don't think it would go into the tank, who knows what his career is, because he's distracted and trying to put together a staff for a job he doesn't have yet or recruit kids to a school he's not at yet. So the question you asked me is, how long is he here? Man, get 2 years, Tony. Just 2 years, buddy. 2 years, you can do better than UCLA. You can do better than UCLA. The USC job might be open. Colorado job might be open. Who knows? There's going to be more jobs coming open. I know only one is his alma mater, but his alma mater never wins anything ever. So,
but either did Arizona State, either does Indiana. Again, I think in this day and age with 12 teams, I think you believe in yourself and the access is there.
You think it bothers them
that he got passed over?
No, well, you should have hired me 2 years ago. But also, he's in the middle of coaching, trying to get his team that he's right now, what he's with, is a playoff, getting them to the playoff. And I think he really genuinely cares about these kids he's coaching and cares about Mike Norvell and cares about Tallahassee as much as he can for being here for 9 months. Do you think he likes that the UCLA AD is putting his name out there like that?
I should go back and edit this. Maybe I will go back and edit it somehow, Corey. It was actually a former player on the call said that, but Martin Jarman was on the call. He's the AD for UCLA.
But it wasn't the AD that said it.
Right. The reporting,
okay,
I'm sorry.
But somebody for UCLA leaked that call.
Yes,
did not make...
Yeah, from the story, I'm sorry, Corey, said a former player on the call, quote, White wants to be the next coach. He didn't say that, but you could just tell by his energy. Former player said that. Yeah.
Okay, so not
maybe Troy Aikman. Maybe Jonathan Ogden.
Could be Deshaun Foster. Was he on the call? He might have some opinions on who they could get better than him. Maybe he's not. Tony White's not a huge fan of that being leaked when he's in the middle of trying to coach a season.
But hey man, Mike Norvell wasn't trying to leak things either, but his name was out there, right, when he was preparing for the conference championship game to get that program into a New Year's Six bowl, which would have been a huge deal. So, I guess it's a little bit different. You've got 9 games ahead of you versus just one more.
I was going to say you're in the middle of September, not late November. And it's it's fine. Look, if he wants the job, if he wants the job, he wants the job. That's not going to derail him. It's just it doesn't speak to UCLA maybe running the best coaching search. They always get it wrong, always. So maybe Tony White would be great. I would also say this again. For whatever reason, defensive coordinators don't typically get hired as head coaches. I shouldn't say that, but it's more offensive-minded guys than defensive-minded guys.
Yeah, Brett Venables is what about me?
I guess you could argue the best coach in the country right now. Yeah, well, and the best coach in the country, now that Saban's retired, is the guy at Georgia who's a defensive coordinator, so maybe more schools should do it. But, yeah, we'll see. There's nothing that he said on Sunday that he did not come out and say, yeah, man, I'm not going anywhere. Right. I told my wife I'd be here for 4 years. We're going to be here for 4 years. He didn't say anything like that, and why would he? He's going to listen because he wants to be a head coach. And it's probably just me wish casting. I just don't want him to go there. He can do better than that, in my opinion. But, again, it is a Big Ten job, and it's a head coaching job, and it's in his alma mater. Let me put it another way. The UCLA fans and the UCLA media don't deserve Tony White. We deserve him in our lives. We care about the sport. UCLA doesn't care about football. They've never cared about football. Florida State fans do, and Tony White is good for Florida State, and I hope he stays. No idea if he will. Could have answered that 10 minutes ago, Aslan, instead of doing all that yapping I just did.
That was good. We're getting better, y'all. Salon Saturday Stew. Listen, the whole thing of the parlays, you got to get all of them right, but we were close. We went 4 out of 5. So if you did the flex option over at Underdog Fantasy, you would have won a pretty good amount of money. That's right. You do parlays over at Underdog Fantasy Sports, and even if you missed one and you do the flex play, you still get a payout. We went higher on Joey Aguilar touchdowns, crushed it. Taylon Green from Arkansas, higher on the yardages, crushed it. Dante Moore, Oregon quarterback, higher on the yards, crushed it. John Mateer lower on his rushing yards, crushed it. And then Jackson Arnold was like 180 yards passing. I'm like, oh, that's a stinky number. He's going to go lower. And it's like, why, Aslan? Why? He threw like for over 200 yards. But hey, 4 out of 5. So that would have been good if I was just giving you single picks. Use them as you want. Have fun. Do it over at Underdog Fantasy Sports. Download the app today and sign up with the promo code WARCHANT to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code WARCHANT. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Underdog Fantasy Sports. Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Last segment, Wake Up Warchant, Vitamin Energy, warchantbogo. Use the promo code. The schedule looking a little bit more manageable, Corey Clark. I think I'm going to move that Clemson game from likely loss to 60-40 Noles, 55-45 Noles.
Okay, all right.
Their secondary's rough. I know all eyes are on the offense, but their secondary, their defensive line's pretty good still. I mean, they're able to kind of collapse some of these pockets, but guys are getting open and making really easy throws for quarterbacks like Steve Angeli. So seeing Clemson, that's
tore his
crazy.
Achilles.
Yeah,
tore his Achilles,
was it?
by the way, and it's lost for the season.
That's
yeah,
terrible, man. So they're 1-3.
Yep.
Yeah, they lost to LSU. They've lost to Georgia Tech. And listening, you're like, oh, they lost on a walk-off. They lost to LSU and one play away. But I mean, they got dominated in that Syracuse game with their backs against the wall. They've got 2 ACC losses. They were virtually eliminated in September. Dabo, there's photos of, there was like a video of him, like they played the interview of him after the game, and then they had B-roll on top of it of him, I guess like during the alma mater, and you would see on his face, like his eyes were shifting, his gaze around, and like he just kind of shook his head and then threw his head down. Like he knows just how much struggles are only really starting, it seems like, for Clemson. NC State lost to Duke.
Yeah,
that's still going to be a tricky game. There's going to be a lot of pressure probably on that. Florida, who knows? Again, ever increasing odds that this will be the third time in 10 years that Florida State's going to take on the Gators when they've got an interim coach. And Miami, I don't know. Listen, Miami, there's certain aspects that I respect in terms of like what they are on the field, but they also leave a lot to be desired, and that coach still does some very conservative shelling up, turtling up really early in a football game. But the schedule looks, I mean, by the week, as much as Florida State's been looking better these last 2 weeks, Corey, it feels like the schedule is maybe the bigger development for what Florida State's future can be.
That's why I try to hesitate, and I don't do a great job of it all the time, but when we're talking about W's and L's and what's a likely win and what's a likely loss, and we're doing it in literally all the way from when the schedule starts until August 30th, until the schedule is released until August 30th, you just don't know, man. You just don't know. You don't know what these teams are. You know, last year before the season started at Florida State for the University of Florida looked like a probable loss. And then it wound up being the worst Florida State team in program history, in my opinion. And then this year, maybe Florida is 2-9 when that game is played. We have no idea what they are, what they're going to be. We didn't know Miami was going to possibly be this good. You just don't know. But yes, so Clemson right now looks awful, and you just wonder, will they turn it around? That is a prideful program. And look, not every team craters like Florida State did last year. Some of them bow up and get better and actually play with some pride. That does still happen. And all those guys have been there for a long time. They're not transient. So maybe they're not going to win the ACC because I don't know if they could. I mean, I'm sure mathematically they could get there, but they would have to go undefeated, and they still have 2 losses, and they have the tiebreaker loss to Georgia Tech. So, you would think Miami or Florida State would be one of the other ones that have one loss or less, you'd think. So anyway, maybe Louisville, it's going to be very, very hard.
Well, actually, Cal's still alive in it, even though they got
they got smoked. Holy cow! Yeah. But you it looks very hard for them to even get to Charlotte this year. And if they don't have a chance to even get to Charlotte, how are they going to handle just kind of playing out the string? They do not look good. It's still Clemson, Florida State, though. They're not going to roll over. That is not going to. You're just not going to walk in there and beat them. Weirdly, you're not going to walk in there and beat them as easily as Syracuse did, even though I think you're better than Syracuse. Mm-hmm. I just think that's a sleepy noon game. They were an 17.5-point favorite. They probably assumed, okay, well, we'll right the ship this week. And then the quarterback looks terrible. But he kind of didn't look great to start last year either, and then turned into a really good player. Maybe that happens again. We don't know. Right now, they look bad. Ask me again in a month. The same thing with Florida. Again, what I would say about Florida is that defense will make it hard for you if they still care to play. Yeah. If they still care, that is a good defense. That is a horrific offense led by, right now, a substandard quarterback, a below-average quarterback.
Broken
but
quarterback.
It doesn't look good at all. Nothing about it looks good. But that game's 9 weeks away. I think when we say the schedule looks easier, I just don't assume at Clemson and at Florida are going to be cakewalks.
Oh,
so
yeah.
What concerns me, though, is that at Virginia has gotten tougher. Like, I thought it wasn't a sure win because it's a road game in the ACC. But when you saw it on the schedule, and as bad as Virginia's been the last 3 years under the same coach, you're like, yeah, that's going to be – if you show up and are pretty competent, you should win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Well, now I think it's going to be a dogfight, man. It's going to be a really tough game. So in that regard, the schedule got a little tougher. I just think, man, Florida State is – I legitimately believe Florida State is good enough to beat anyone in the country. I legitimately believe that. Yes. I have not seen another team in the country, including the one they play. The number 2 team in the country is Miami. Now, they might not beat Miami, but they could beat Miami. You know what I mean? Like,
completely.
That is not out
They're
of the realm of possibility.
They're going to be favored
Probably,
against Miami.
Right? Yeah. And so when you look at the Miami game, which is the next one of the big 4 that they had when the season started, look, man, Carson Beck looked like the Carson Beck I remembered. If you can pressure him, if you're a good defense – and you can pressure him, and you don't have a great running attack going, he is going to throw you the ball, and he is going to wear some sacks. He's also going to make some great throws because he's got an NFL arm, but he can be rattled. And I have not been impressed with that offense against competent teams. I mean, I know they put up – I think they've scored the least amount of points of anyone against Notre Dame. And one of those was an incredible one-handed catch that almost was intercepted by the safety and could have been. So they didn't look great. They haven't looked great on offense. They have some weapons, but overall they have not looked great. They've also played Notre Dame, South Florida, and Florida. So they've experienced some challenges physically and competitively that Florida State has not faced yet. Florida State got Alabama, I get it. But also, and we shouldn't even be talking about this. I apologize, because Virginia's next up. This will be Miami's first road game. That's always. I mean, it's crazy crazy to start with 4 straight home games, but that's what Miami has done. So this is a tough place for a team full of a lot of new players, even though they're good, to play their first game away from home. So in that regard, you kind of like that Florida State's first game is a Friday night at Virginia, not exactly a snake pit, as opposed to Miami, their first road game in Doak. Maybe with game day there, maybe not. We'll see. Don't really care, other than I think a lot. The only reason I care is because I know a lot of you care. Doesn't affect my life at all, but it would be cool if game day came back to Doak. To do that, to make sure of that, I feel like you've got to. If you win Friday night, I can't imagine they say no to it. They can't. Yeah. They can't. So hopefully that's what happens. And we're talking about when we're doing this show a week from today. We're talking about Miami, Florida State. Game day is already announced, 7:30 kick, all that good stuff that comes with legitimately one of the biggest games, I shouldn't say biggest, but one of the most hyped atmospheres that's ever been at Doak. And trust me, I've been to all of them, folks. I'm just not talking out my yin-yang here. The fact that they'd both be undefeated, ranked in the top 10, the history of the 2 programs, what it means for both programs, because Miami hasn't been relevant in 20 years, the whole country watching, and also no real, as I said last week, we have no idea how it will go. Like, really, it feels like a coin flip. Like, Miami has got some dudes now. On defense, those ends are good. That offensive line is good.
Yeah.
You've got Castellanos and Deuce and Danzy and Daryl Jackson and Earl Little. Like, there's star power everywhere. There's NFL players everywhere. And there's real good coaching. At least, I mean, I think Miami's coached well. They just, they don't do – they do
their
some dumb
game management.
things.
Yeah, their game
management is not great.
Yeah,
But
fundamentally, they're
well.
sound. Yes.
Yes. Their drill work. I'll give them. They get a passing grade from me on their drill work at practice. Those guys are physical and tough, and that atmosphere will be incredible. Whether you beat Virginia or not, it's going to be incredible. But man, the hype and anticipation around that game would be unlike anything we've kind of seen around here in a long time. At least since Notre Dame in 2014. And even that one, although it turned into a great game, I don't feel like Florida State fans thought they had a chance to lose right up until they were about to lose, right up until they had lost. And then the offensive pass interference was called. So this is just you go into this game really having no idea how it will play out, and that makes it even more fun. But you got to get there first, and Virginia is a big test.
Really weak slate of games that Saturday, too. So, that's going to be all eyes are going to be on Tallahassee, Florida. It's crazy. As you look on ESPN.com, sorry, everybody, I do use ESPN.com, and I also watch ESPN a lot. Sorry. It shows you the ticket prices that you always like to point out, Corey, when I'm showing schedules. I don't think there isn't any game where the tickets are as low as there's only basically Florida State, Miami, it says tickets are available as low as $406. The closest to that is $169 Kentucky at Georgia.
Yeah, okay.
That's that week's slate of games. You got Vandy at Alabama, which, 18th Vandy versus 17th Alabama. But Texas at Florida obviously has lost a lot of its juice. That's the only other game. The only other ranked game is Vandy.
What are those
at
prices
Alabama.
going for? That should still be pretty high.
Still 188.
That's what I'm telling you, folks. The beauty of the SEC is Florida is having a disappointing, dismal start to the season. They're still playing Texas at home, a game I'm sure most Florida fans assume they're going to lose badly, and they're still $200 a ticket. Now go look at what Florida State versus, I don't know, man, Virginia Tech is. Or that's not even, the Virginia game this week against Florida State. You could get into the game. I checked an hour before we started recording the show for $65, which is a huge StubHub price for a Virginia football.
Yeah, it is, I would say, for sure.
A lot of them are around 100, 150. There's some real excitement about this game. So I hope if you live in that area and you're a Florida State fan, get there, show up. It's been 30 years since the Warwick Dunn play.
Oof.
We all remember that. All of us that were old enough to see it, and I'm sure even if you weren't, you've seen highlights of it. It's been 30 years since that game happened. They're going to show it on the broadcast a lot, I'm sure, especially if it's a close game in the fourth quarter. So, man, get there and be loud. Maybe it's the closest they'll play to you all season. You got tickets on StubHub that are available. Hey, come say hey to Corey. I'll be there somewhere.
And if you're not a fossil, when you think about Virginia, you think about the Marquise Haggins game.
Yeah, that was 05,
05,
right?
like Florida State beat Miami for the first time in forever, and they were 5-0. They were top 5 for the first time in a minute. Yep. And then Heath Miller and Marquise Haggins just went.
Yeah, he turned into Doug Flutie.
Yeah.
For old school reference for you guys.
Yeah.
He turned into Kyler Murray. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Best
game. It was incredible, the throws he was making.
They were all third down throws, too, I feel like, too. Just crazy threading him in there. So, yeah, Scott Stadium, I don't want to say House of Horrors, but it hasn't been very friendly to Florida State. And last time they played, there was 19, where, Taggart kind of.
Yeah,
was that week 2 or it was week 3? So week 1 they blew.
It was after they went to overtime against Louisiana
Monroe. Yeah. So week 1 they were up 31-3 on Boise, but somehow lost that game. And then second week Louisiana Monroe, and then third week ACC opener, and then you fell short. So we'll try to get somebody on from Cavs Corner. That's the Virginia site on the On3 network on the show here. We're gonna do a mailbag for you folks tomorrow. I don't know how, maybe we'll still do live show Wednesday. Schedules are going to be a little bit different with it moving up to Friday. Corey's also going to be traveling between his 2 estates, and then he's also got to drive to Charlottesville, Virginia for the game. Him and Ira.
That's right.
Back in the saddle. The 2 aces. Can't wait. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock. We'll be back out at campus later today to speak to Mike Norvell. So we're going to get Norvell, I think, Monday, Tuesday, Corey, and then
Then they shut it down. We'll get some players too, and that'll be that.
So, big game, ACC opener. All of our goals still ahead of us. Fun times. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We really appreciate it. Have a great Monday. He's Corey Maslow. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.